Okay, thank you all so much for coming. My name is Gillian Hubner, and I lead the relatively new Collaborative on Global Children's Issues at Georgetown. And I'm thrilled to be with you today. Feels like a really child-centered week in Washington, which is, as you know, not the norm. The Collaborative was formed 2 years ago, and the purpose of it is to ensure that as we are training people at Georgetown to go out into the world in the Foreign Service, that we're also thinking about how the world looks from the perspective of young people. As you know, you can go through and get an education in Foreign Service and whatnot, and then realize you didn't really incorporate children in your thinking or your education, and then you get out into the field and, oh my goodness, 40% of the world is under the age of 18. So that's why the Collaborative exists, and as a collaborative, we don't do anything alone because we can't. So today, for instance, we're partnering with the Interaction Working Group on Forced Displacement, International Rescue Committee, Kids in Need of Defense, Save the Children, and UNICEF USA. Thank you all for pitching in. This is truly a collaborative effort, and it wouldn't have happened without their assistance, both financially, but also in terms of thinking and networking and bringing the right people into the conversation. And also at Georgetown, there are a lot of different parts of the university that also are involved in children and migration, including the Human Rights Institute at the law school, the Institute for the Study of International Migration, the Georgetown Institute on Women, Peace, and Security, and the Laboratory on Global Performance and Politics. So one of the reasons we decided to do that this week is because little Amal came to Washington. I don't know how many of you managed to go out and see her, but if you missed it, we wanted to share a video. So that was pretty amazing. Who in the audience got to go? Did you get to see her? Great, awesome. So we're picking up on that theme today. Little Amal encourages us to think about these issues from the lens of a young person, and we had members of Congress greeting her as they would a 10-year-old child on the move, looking for her mom, looking for her family and a place to sleep. We've brought shoes today around. And one of the things we wanted to ask you to do as we get started, you have color cards on your table and crayons, because we want you to be in your childhood self today. If you sometime during the day can reflect on a young person you know who's migrated or been displaced, if you don't know one personally, then maybe a story you've heard of, and just jot that down on one of your color cards. and place it in their shoes. We want to make sure that we're really mindful today of those who've migrated, who've walked, who've been displaced, and that we're centering them. So put the policy world, the gray of Washington, out of your mind, and let's focus in this place that's child-centered. I want to also recognize who is in the room. First and foremost, who among you, if you feel comfortable saying, have experienced displacement or migration? You all have, and others in the audience. So you're our experts today, and we honor you and welcome you. Who here is from Georgetown? Faculty, students? Some. Welcome. And from the NGO world? Awesome. Boots on the ground. Thank you, guys. And from the US government, policymakers? They're coming. Okay. All right. So the structure of the day is to start with the perspective of young people. And then we're going to talk about how the federal government responds to children on the move. And then we're going to talk about how the DC metro area responds to children on the move, knowing that we're a center. Many migrant kids are coming into our communities, and how do we respond? As we all know, there are more children on the move now than ever before, and 40% of them are under the age of 18. And yet, much of the conversation about immigration policy is not child-centered. So today is really dedicated to changing the conversation, putting children front and center. So I wanted to start by inviting Berta, who comes from Burundi, to offer some words. Thank you, Berta.
I know Fridays, it's not, I wouldn't prefer to, it's not the preferred day to be attending workshops. So we appreciate you for being here and being here to just, hear our story and, we all learn from each other. I have a spoken word piece. I don't really call my work poems because calling it poem is intimidating and I feel like poems are just meant to be written and put away. So I call my pieces written, spoken word pieces. And this one is called In Her Shoes. All right. May I ask what shoe size you wear? Yes. Actually, don't tell me. Hold on. Okay, well, 8. You already said it. All right. All right. May I ask what shoe size you wear? But don't tell me. Let me guess. You wear size 9? Yes? No? Oh, okay. All right. What about you? What shoe size do you wear? 40 in Europe. Okay. And I'll take a guess. You wear size 15? Yes. Okay, so that's not 15. Okay, great. Well, I wouldn't be able, it would be hard for me to be able to really guess the shoe size of the people in this room. And yeah, it would be difficult. And I wouldn't even know where I would really begin to measure your shoe size because I don't really know you. I've never really seen your feet, and I have not worked in a shoe department to be able to flip through shoes and shoe sizes to a point where I can just look at somebody's feet and be able to know their shoe size. So then, why are you constantly trying to buy and fit in the shoes of children like ours? Before you even set your eyes on our feet, yet you claim and insist to know our shoe size, the type of shoes we wear, the type of style and brand we need and wear. See, this woman standing here was once a refugee child. Yeah, she was once the girl that you see on UNICEF ad campaigns, the little girl who looks so helpless, dressed in raggedy clothes and maybe flies buzzing all around her. Oh, come on, you didn't buy that, did you now? Not all children on the move look that way. It baffles me why they often choose to portray us in such light. Is that really all that they see? That's what they see when they come into places where we, the children on the move, are. Or is that what they choose to focus on because they have a narrative to maintain, a story to keep on telling, but a story for whom? A story that benefits who? No, don't tell me that that story truly benefits the girl. How? When all you see and keep on singing is about how helpless, vulnerable, weak, impoverished, endangered she is. No, it's not to say that that story is untrue, but it is a half-baked narrative. And the danger of a single story, well, I'm not going to go into that. You see, with your words, you limit the girl. With your words, you block her imagination. With your words, you othered her. With your words, you cut her life short. With your words, you hinder her growth. With your words, you thwart what she could have become. Because your words translate into policy. Policy translate into action. Well, you already know that. No, don't sit here and tell me that her voice gets heard by perpetuating this othered narrative. Yes, she's a child that needs to be protected and taken care of. She is that exactly, a child, a human being with range of emotions, wants, desires, dreams, skills, talents, just like your child or any other child that you know in your life. And above all that, she's an extraordinary child. Seen and experienced so much in such a short life. Her emotional intelligence you can begin to fathom, with a spirit of resilience bigger than all your shoe sizes combined. Her eagerness and determination of a giraffe's neck, elongating every day to reach the green leaves on the tree. The girl is constantly aware of contradictions and failures. She has to accept hope and accept despair. She has learned to accept the broken world, and she's willing to change it. But are you? You see, it doesn't require a 2020 vision to see what she can and will become. The child is the next. You name it. So will you bet on this child? It doesn't take much to see that this country needs her. It doesn't require a PhD in human development to see her potential. It doesn't require a human rights degree to see that she is worth investing in as much as your daughter, your niece, your grandchildren. In her shoes, this girl you view as hopeless and helpless against all odds is resettled to the United States of America, the land of opportunity, the land in which the heavens and the earth kisses, the land of liberty, equality, and justice for all, you say. Yet, her first foot on the land of freedom out of the plane with the infamous IOM bag in her hand, you hear her shouting, "Look at me. I'm here to disturb your schools, put pressure on your school healthcare systems, and steal your jobs." Yes, that step changed her life. So many things she found beautiful disappeared. Her community was gone. But she got her alien card. And boy, did she feel like an alien. The ugly of the ugliest duckling for the first time in her life. Although her innocence shielded her brain from comprehending the rhetoric driving the climate, her soul screamed, "I am unwanted and hated." Her soul longed again to feel the warm embrace of her friends covered in red dust in the refugee camp. But since you know better, maybe you're asking for a friend. Why should your friend care about this girl? How does she benefit your friend in this beloved country of your friend? Well, why don't you have your Harvard-educated economists do the maths? Heck, have the feds do the numbers. It really doesn't require an economist report, though. And yes, it's true, reports can lie because data can be manipulated. Well, tell your friends to look at the girls like me and the boy on this stage. We were once, just helpless children on the move. But people invested in us. It's a selfless individual who chipped in here and there. It's a selfless and the aspect of institutions from time to time, it does its job. It is the hearts that influence those policy pens to be put in motion. The only thing between us and the others today, whose future are unaccounted for, is your friend. So will your friend bet on more girls and boys like me? Will you work to uplift them, to provide them with education, to ensure they have access to opportunities? Will you? Because one day, they will inherit the broken pieces of flawed institutions and governments, and it will be soon their responsibility to mend what they can in her shoes. So will you bet on her? Thank you.
What a way to start the day. Thank you so much. And I'm going to pass to this amazing panel, and I'm going to introduce Sweta, who will introduce the others. Sweta Shah is a research fellow with the Collaborative on Global Children's Issues, and she is also the CEO and founder of a new NGO, Child Arise, which really focuses on centering the voices of young people in humanitarian settings. And Sweta has a long background centering young people in research, especially even the very youngest. We often hear from older youth in research and events like this, but Sweta also has a background in including the very youngest children to make sure that their perspectives are known as well. So over to you. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. And actually, I'm so excited about this panel. This panel in your agenda you'll see is called Lived Experience is Expertise. And I'm so honored to be here on this stage with all of these young experts. Often, when policies are made, there isn't really inclusion or the voices of young people who actually go through these experiences of being on the move. And policies are made maybe in an office in Washington without consideration. And yet, if we want to really create policies and change, we need to hear from these experts. So I'm so excited to introduce 7 young people today. Each of them is at a different stage in their journey. We have 2 girls who are from Myanmar, Estefa and Mazeda. They're in Cox's Bazar. You see them on TV. They're calling in from Zoom in Cox's Bazar. We also have 2 young people who are recently arrived. They recently came to this country. We have Isaias from Honduras, and we have Sasha from Ukraine. And then we have 3 amazing young people who came to this country as teenagers. So we have Zara from Afghanistan, we have Bertha from Burundi, and we have Jimmy from El Salvador. So please join me in welcoming them, and please join me in welcoming them. I'm gonna start the first question for our friends in Cox's Bazar to Estefa and Mazeda. Can you share with us what is your experience like in the camps, and what are your hopes and dreams?
Thank you everyone for giving me this opportunity. I go to the learning facility regularly to study. In leisure, I play with my friends. In the other parts of the day, I help family members, like in household, like help my mother in the kitchen. At night, I do my homework and teach my father and mother how to write their names as signature. And I also play with my brother and sister and help them preparing their homeworks and I also like to draw and color them. And other community people seek my help, read their ration cards and other papers. I help them and inform the distribution dates written. My dream is to become a doctor and my hope is to be an educated person. Thank you. This is Mustafa. I like to read. I like to go read. Sorry. I like to regularly to the community-based learning center and studying properly. As I want to be educated person. I want to be a doctor to serve my community. I do my homework. I do my homework seriously. If there's any problem or difficulty in understanding, I discuss and solve with my friends. They come to our house. I also go there. I also go there and play together. I help my younger sister and brother preparing their homework. Prepare them to go their learning center regularly. I share what I learn with in session with my mother and father. My dream is to become a doctor and have a bright future. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So we have two future doctors here with us. So now I'm going to turn to our newcomers. So Isaiah and Sasha, tell me, what are your experiences and what are your hopes and dreams?
So, en mi experiencia personal, ¿puede ir atrás, hermana?
Sí.
Ok. En mi experiencia personal es un viaje bastante difícil y a la vez algo que no cualquiera espera vivir.
My experience was something very difficult and something I never expected to live through.
Pero realmente es increíble la manera en la que uno puede conectar con muchas personas por una misma causa, conseguir una vida mejor, un futuro mejor.
But really, it's amazing the way you can connect with a lot of people who are going through the same thing, finding a better life and a better future.
Y es una manera súper bonita conocer nuevas personas, nuevas culturas, nuevas historias y saber que uno no está solo en este camino, sino que hay muchas personas que comparten el mismo sentimiento.
But really, it's a beautiful thing to get to know new people and new cultures.
Y que es bonito compartir el mismo sentimiento.
And to share the same experiences.
Y respecto a mis sueños, en este momento estoy luchando por el más importante, que sería poder grabar mi primer álbum de música, el cual saldría el próximo año.
And in terms of my dreams, right now I'm working on the most important thing, which is recording and releasing my first album next year.
Y pues espero que, al igual que en este momento, poder seguir conociendo muchas personas, muchas historias y poder tener la oportunidad de seguir viviendo este tipo de experiencias.
And I'll keep meeting new people and experiencing new things.
Gracias.
Sasha, how about you?
So same as Isaiah, I never thought that I would end up in the situations that I did, but was the full-on invasion begun, it was really confusing at first. We decided to leave. It was my family. I have two younger brothers, my mom and my dad. We decided to leave when our grandfather called my dad, and he was like, the tanks are just a few minutes away. You do have to leave. And we just packed a bunch of bags from the house into the car that wouldn't start, and it was like, oh, what is going on? The car is not starting. Oh my God. It did start eventually, but it was really stressful at that point, and we left the country heading west. At first, we fled to Germany, stayed there for a few months, and then an opportunity was for us to come here. And considering that our knowledge of English was way better than the knowledge of German that we had, it would give us more opportunity to join the community, talk to people, go to grocery stores, and know what you're buying. And my parents would have a better chance of getting a job. We decided to move here. The decision was, it was a really fast decision. I believe was opening visas and stuff like that. It took about a month, and in a month we were like on the plane landing here. And we came last August, so we're still sort of new, but getting around, getting to know the life in USA, and it's been great so far.
So Sasha, I'm going to ask you a follow-up. So we had Estefa and Mazeda want to be doctors. Isaiah wants to be a musician. What about you? What are you thinking?
Right now, back home, I had this plan of going to international economics. And now I was able to get into community college, so I'm pursuing an associate's degree in business administration, and I'm hoping to transfer to an economics program to a 4-year school.
So a future economist we have here.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah, great. So now I'd love to turn it to Zara from Afghanistan, Bertha from Burundi, and Jimmy from El Salvador. Now the three of you have been in this country since you were teenagers, so for a number of years. And so can you share with us a little bit about your experiences? Has the U.S. met your expectations? And what are some of your hopes and dreams?
I can start. I became a refugee at a very young age to Pakistan. While hearing the stories of my friends and my colleagues here, it's very interesting yet heartbreaking to see how similar of experiences we have. Just like our friends joining us via Zoom, I still help my parents with legal forms, with signatures, with helping them around. And just like your experience, my parents, I came home after an exam and my parents had just packed a bag and said, we are leaving. We come from diverse backgrounds and diverse experiences, yet there are points in our journey that connects us. When I was on the move, I had no expectation of any nation except peace. My search was for peace, not for a specific place. I wanted a place that welcomed me and called it home. And over time, US has become home. At days, I walk into rooms where I feel like everybody's welcoming me, every room is welcoming. And at days, I am just an alien. Nobody wants to talk to me, nobody wants to engage with me. I'm here to steal the jobs. I'm here to take opportunities from others. And that has been very devastating because now this nation has become home. I want to be seen as any other children in this nation. I want to contribute to making this country better and having it be my home. So it has been very challenging, and but I have found that hope is the most revolutionary thing. If they take away everything from me, from my identity to my home, they cannot take away my hope from me. And in pursuit of that, I am on a path of becoming an American diplomat to bring peace to the nation that hosted me and the nation that I left behind with the children in it.
Wonderful. And I think this idea and concept of home was also brought up during the Little Amal event as well. And so I'd love to hear from Bertha and Jimmy, what is when you think of home, like what is your concept of home? What are your hopes and dreams and what are your experiences?
It's interesting that you ask that because for me, I always say, home, it's not a place for me. I've never really considered home to be a place, but home, it's people. It's a people and the emotions around the people that I'm with. For me, my refugee experience, I have more of a protracted refugee experience background. I say that I'm from Burundi, but shamefully, I've never actually been to Burundi. I was born in the DRC. My parents went to DRC in the 70s, and they grew up there. I was born there, and then around 1996, the Second Congo War happened, and then we went to Tanzania, which is where I spent majority of my my childhood years. And then we were there for about 11 years. And that is, I think, for the first time, that is when we were considered, refugees. Of course, we were on the move the whole time, but as some of you know the process, until, the UN has declared you as a refugee, you're not. So that's when we got our refugee status and then started the process of being, getting resettled to another country. And, it's a long process. It took 11 years. Finally, we came here to the US, and I was around the age of 13. But since then, for me, going from Burundi, Congo, Tanzania, and then we also lived in Kenya briefly. And in all these countries, I was interacting with different people, connecting with people from different, backgrounds. And for me, I learned at an early age that I couldn't really rely on it, and we were constantly moving. So I couldn't really rely on a place to be a home for me. And I didn't have this national identity. There wasn't a national identity in me, but just people. Like for me, that's what feels home, what feels like home. And I personally consider myself, a global citizen. So people for me are what's home. And my experience here in the U.S., I wouldn't say that the U.S. necessarily met my expectations, but I've come to learn that no nation is perfect. Every nation, it's on a journey to become the thing that the people in that nation wants it to become. And as for me, my dream is here to contribute to what I think, the U.S. could be.
Wonderful, thank you. Jimmy, what about you from El Salvador?
So actually, she said everything that I wanted to say. So,
Well, it also shows the similarities in all of your experiences.
yeah, I really agree with her that people is what I consider to be home. The people who I can share my identity, people who have the same background as me and the same experience. And I came to the United States when I was 12 years old. And I didn't know any word in English. I was really lost when I came over here. And I was really frustrated because everyone was speaking English in my school. Everyone was speaking their own language. They had their own friend, and me trying to figure out how to fit in a community that I didn't fit. And I always thought that I wasn't not going to fit because I would never learn English. But coming to the United States, I wouldn't say that it has been one of the best decisions. As she's mentioned, has not met like everything that I need, because I'm still learning, and I still have to fight for my own voice. I still have to fit in some community that I don't fit, and sometimes I need to advocate for things that should be my rights, for things that it should be available for me. But I feel that there will always be something that I need to fight for my privilege, for my rights, and yeah.
And what are your hopes and dreams? And what you have a vision for what you want to study and be?
Yes. Right now, I'm majoring in general studies and concentration in political science and early childhood education. In the future, I would like to become a teacher for elementary or early childhood education to teach young children English or Spanish, and put myself in their feet, coming to the United States without knowing any English. And I would like to become a senator one day, and be able to make some changes in my community and represent my Latino community, and not only Latino community as well, but BIPOC community as well.
Well, wonderful. There will be some, I think some possibly senators, I don't know, or at least staffers of senators here later today. Thank you all so much. And clearly you have so many hopes and dreams. And while you all come from different countries and your experiences have been and will be a little different, you also have a lot of similarities in your experiences. The issue of identity, the issue of what is home, the issue of feeling like you're the other and not part of this country or where you are. So I'm curious to know, I would love to start with Estefa and Maceda for this question. And I'd love to hear from you in terms of what do you think that you bring to your host communities?
Thank you. This is Majuda. And my answer is, recently we have seen food ration cuts and having less food. We are worried about the future. But as an adolescent, we have nothing to do. How can we help our family and community? I want everybody is happy and not hungry and live a secure, peaceful life. Thank you.
I am Mustafa. We have limitation in education, but I need you to study to become doctors. So I want to go back to our country to study more. Now is the time to show us that the international country has not turned it back on us. We need your strong support to grow in a better way and chase our dream. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And now I'm going to ask a similar question to all 5 of you here. Is, you are now in this country, in the US, and, there is often a perception that, people who come to this country as immigrants, as migrants, as refugees are going to take jobs and aren't going to contribute. But I want to hear from you. What do you feel you can contribute to this country? And any of you, Jimmy, you want to start?
Yeah.
Go for it.
One thing that I feel that we bring to the United States or to this nation is the educational vision. Even though we had to adapt to a new language, we had to adapt to a new country, a new culture, and leave everything behind, or culture or food. I really love the food from El Salvador, and adapt to a new culture in the United States. It could be stressful, it could be really frustrating, as I mentioned before, but that will never take away from us the educational ambition to be someone in this country, to always look out for opportunities, how to become some educated person, on how to become someone in life, so we don't stay in the same way as our parents are. I'm not saying that the job that our parents work are bad or not, but it's always something that we want to do, and to become someone to have a better life, and to always help our family, and to be a well-educated person.
Great. Maybe let me turn to this side, to Isaiah or Sasha. What do you feel as newcomers? What have you been thinking that you could contribute? I mean, you want to be an economist, you want to be a musician. So we'd love to hear what you think.
So I think that me and children on the move in general, when they come to new host communities, they first of all bring a lot of experience with them, both from being on the move and from coming from a different background, culturally or economically. And in our world right now, it's really globalized. Like with the internet, with the very affordable connectivity, like through fares and flights, the world is closer together than ever. And to be able to learn how to communicate with others and to acknowledge other backgrounds is really, it's a useful skill and it's a valuable skill. And when kids on the move come to the communities and talk to the, I would call them host kids, I'm not sure about the, I'm gonna use the host kids, the kids on the move can share their experience with the host kids and they can exchange their experiences together and learn how to communicate with each other in an early age and in, I think, very informal settings, so just playing around together, going to school together, and not knowingly earning a really valuable skill for the future.
Awesome. Yeah. What about you, Isaias? What do you think that young people can bring to the U.S.?
Pues pienso de una manera muy acertada, espero, que todos y cada uno contribuimos demostrándole a este país las diferentes culturas, las diferentes cosas que hacemos nosotros en nuestros propios países. Y todos se ven admirados y les da curiosidad por conocer un poco más.
Well, I think something that we all bring is our own experiences from our home countries and our different cultures.
Y siento que realmente podemos quebrar el paradigma de pensar que todos tenemos ciertas clases sociales diferentes, cuando al final del día somos exactamente iguales.
And I think we can really change the paradigm and show that even though people think we're from different social classes, we're all really the same.
Sin importar de dónde vengamos, sin importar qué idioma hablemos, sin importar absolutamente nada, todos estamos aquí por una sola razón y es poder demostrar que podemos salir adelante, que podemos hacer un futuro mejor tanto para nuestras familias como para el país en el que estamos, demostrarle a los Estados Unidos que somos merecedores de estar aquí y que podemos cambiar todo lo que se ha venido haciendo mal en todo este tiempo.
And without regard for the different languages that we speak or the different places that we're from, we all can bring something to this country. And show that everything that was done badly can be fixed.
So how about here? Let's turn to this side, to Berta and to Zara.
I always like to say, since, the economy drives every nation, really. There's no lie about that. And yes, often, whenever they're making a case, for why we should support refugees and invest in them, it's always, well, they bring so much to the economy. And on that, I'd like to give this analysis. So when my family resettled to the U.S., we were a family of 8, 6 children and 2 parents. And let's say, and it's an investment that the U.S., the U.S. invests in the people, when there are refugees coming, and of course that investment comes from, your tax dollars. So let's say that the U.S. invested about $30K for my family to come to the U.S. It's probably less than that, honestly. But let's say they did $35K for the whole family to come. And we've been in the U.S. for about 14 years now. I was 13 years old when we got here. And, graduated from high school, got my bachelor's, got my master's, and I've been in the workforce for about 4 years. I've paid taxes those 4 years. And there was one day, my first year of just, being in the workforce, I looked at my tax summaries, my tax papers, and I was like, oh my God, I've paid about $5K in federal and state taxes. And actually, it wasn't even for 1 year. I hadn't been working for 1 year yet, and I was, wow. So now $5K in 1 year, and now we're 5 years, 4 years in. That's about, $20K that I've contributed into the economy. And obviously, I still have a long way to go, and I'm going to be, going to be spending the rest of my life pretty much working and paying taxes. So already the U.S. has already gotten what it invested, right? That is just the economic aspect. But really beyond that, she mentioned a little bit briefly on the world is changing, right? We live in a globalized world. Yes, we'd like to believe that, the position that the U.S. holds in the world today will remain the same. But let's be real, that's not the case. Look around. Things are changing. There are a lot of shifts, a lot of currencies. And in order, I believe that a nation that is really going to be better positioned for the future, it's a nation with people, citizens who are able to connect with people from other countries, be able to connect, on a cultural level, linguistically, and religiously. You have to be able to connect with other people in order for your economy to thrive and do well. So we bring more than just, the economic aspect. This nation needs people like us, with our different cultural differences, different backgrounds, to be able to do better in the future.
Give the U.S. a competitive edge.
Exactly.
Zara, what do you feel?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with everything that has been said. I want to pose a question, so hopefully that changes the way that you think about this question in the future. We never ask the children who were born here, not into an immigrant family, how they're going to pay back America. Why us? We bring our full self to the table. Is that not enough? It's very important to think about the manners that we left our childhood on the way to here, and we gave up so much to be here. Do you ever think about the bravery that it takes for us to sit here and share our stories? To speak up? To walk in a store and experience something very racist and have to step up and defend our parents? Or show up at a protest and demand change? The bravery that we have, so many people are in search of and are inspired by us. If anything, we are a beautiful influence on your children and on you to make the world a better place. And yeah, we can talk about the economic aspect of it. We can talk about being in school. We can talk about US being so diverse. You can literally buy any food you crave, right? But at the end of the day, we are who we are, and we bring so much that if we were just spoke like anybody else and looked like anybody else, where would the beauty of the world go? So next time when you ask this question, maybe think about, we never expect our children to be asked that question. So why us?
Really great question that I think the audience will continue to ponder throughout the day. So you all brought up really incredible points that you can be the bridge, the connectors, the global citizens. You can help the U.S. have a competitive edge. You bring different perspectives and visions, and you bring different, amazing foods from your countries. That, in fact, in this city, there's a restaurant that is from all of your countries, that represents all of your countries, which is amazing. So thank you for sharing with us what you bring, because I think it's tremendous what you bring. So now I want to turn to our last question. Later on in the day, we're going to have policymakers. We're going to have policymakers that work at the federal level, and we will have policymakers who are working here at the local level. And often the voices of young children, you're not children, most of you anymore, some of you are, but of young people are not heard or considered. So I want to ask you, what do you think you want to tell policymakers or the world? And I'm going to start with our friends in Cox's Bazar. Estefa and Maceda, what do you want to tell the world? What do you want to tell those who are making decisions that affect your lives in the refugee camps?
Thank you, Amada. We want a happy life. Help us and give us back our happy lives. Give back our homeland and ensure our safety and security in Myanmar. I want to look at the vast crop field where children can run and draw that. We want to go back to our own country, Myanmar, and want to get the educational opportunity there. I want to become a doctor there in Myanmar and want to serve the people of my country. Please help me so that I can follow my dreams. It's my dream. Thank you.
Hey, Mustafa, I also want to go back to our safe homeland. We request the U.S. government and others leaders to pressure the Myanmar government to give us citizenship and other rights and takes us back. Please create association where we can have higher study to become a doctor. We want to go back to our own country and want to go to get to educational opposition there. I want to become a doctor there and want to serve the people of my country.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So now I want to turn to Isaiah and Sasha. So you both are recent arrivals within the last year to this country. I would like to hear, the audience to hear your perspectives on, coming here as a newcomer, and what do you want to tell policymakers and the world?
So coming here, it's definitely a different thing than what I'm used to. Even though you first think that, oh, how different could it be? But it really is. And it differs from such basic things as even knowing like what store to go to. Like when people say, oh, you can go to 7-Eleven to buy some eggs, and you're expecting a grocery store and it's almost like a gas station. Or like, oh, you're thinking, oh, Costco, it's a grocery store. You can go and buy like one bottle of water. No, you can't. But, so knowledge about those basic things, it's really important. I don't think you think of it often. Even me as a refugee, when I came here, I didn't really think about it. I said, oh, I don't even know where can I go shop or where can I buy some stuff that I need. Thankfully, I came as U4U program, so we had a sponsor, which was a local church, and people there were really helpful. They showed us around, again, about the stores. They were able to rent a house, because you come to US and you don't have like no history of rent, you don't have a credit history, you don't have a social security number, you're almost like as nothing to the system, and it's really hard even to find rent. And we were able to get our house that we live in, it was rented by the church for us, and the landlords were making contact with the church because no one really trusts you. And I think for kids, it's important to have an access to education, which we had. My brother, he's right now in middle school, and he had ESL classes, and for him to be able to go back to that sort of structured daily life and be able to interact with other kids his age, I feel it's an important experience, because when you're on the move, you're kind of restricted by your family, and you're not really thinking about the kid stuff. You're more of like, oh, how can I help my family? What I should do next? Like, what paper should I file? And you miss out on that, on being a kid. And I feel like supporting kids and giving them support for them to be kids for a little bit, to think about, oh, prom and my first like volleyball tournament, and to have those experiences is really important, because when you're on the move, your life kind of becomes a survival mode, and you're losing your childhood a little bit.
Great, thank you. Wonderful insights. Isaiah?
Right. Pues pienso de una manera muy profunda
Well, I think about this deeply,
que a pesar de que hay muchas puertas abiertas para tanto personas como nosotros,
that even though there's a lot of doors open for people like us,
deberían de considerar tener muchas más posibilidades para facilitarnos las maneras de poder sobrevivir en este país,
they
Ya-
should facilitate more ways for us to survive in this country.
ya que día a día y sol a sol lo que intentamos es, además de intentar hacer y demostrarle a este país que merecemos estar aquí, poder hacer que también vean que nosotros somos una parte importante para ustedes.
Because day to day, every day, what we're trying to do is show that we deserve to be here in this country.
Porque los niños y jóvenes que vienen en camino o que ya estamos aquí para poder hacer un cambio, para poder demostrarle al país que merecemos la oportunidad y que también podemos cambiar el rumbo en el que va el mundo y hacerlo un lugar mejor.
Because the kids that are on their way here, the kids that are here, we want to make a change and we want to prove that we can make a change in this country.
Bien, gracias. So now you three have been here for a while. You've had a chance to really experience, what this country has to offer, and you're working, you're going to school. So what do you want to tell policymakers, either about integrating young people or just policies to support them? What would you like to tell policymakers in the world?
I can go first. I think around 2021, I was researching, actually, no, for my undergraduate practicum, I did research on the refugee youth experience, educational experience here in the United States. And during that time, I found out that only about 1% of the world refugee population acquires a higher, has an opportunity to get higher education or have a higher, like a college degree. And that really was consistent in the community that I grew up in. To this day, there are times where actually I feel guilty. I look back at the kids, the youth that I grew up in, and I see, our life trajectory really gone different paths, and most of them do wanted to pursue college education, but they didn't have the opportunity to do so for many different reasons. You come into this country at different ages. Some refugee children come without any educational background at all, and while here trying to learn a new language, you're put into a school system where you have to, your average American is already struggling, to keep up with school, but now for you, you've never been in school before, you don't know how to read and write in your own language, let alone English, but yet now you have to really you're put in there and then you have to, figure it out. There's no, resources, there is no proper accommodations for children with that kind of background, and because of that, children are failing. We are failing them, we bring them here, they're resettled, great, we pat ourselves on the back, but we get here and then that's it. Our parents, they go into the workforce, they're busy working to keep food on the table. They cannot read, as we've said. Maybe they can read in our language, in their native languages, but they can't read in English. So, in addition to us trying to figure out what's going on at school, we have to come home. Some of us take care of our younger siblings, right? And all of this, there's no time or anybody to help us with that homework. So we're getting, lagging behind, and every year, as most of you know what happens in public school systems, but we keep, being put to the next level, until we get to 12th grade. And I know many people that I grew up with, they graduate from high school without even being able to read on an 8th grade level. Like, think about that. They cannot read. They cannot pick up a newspaper and be able to understand what's in the newspaper. Now, so to me, I think, as Nelson Mandela said, education is the most powerful weapon which can be used to change the world. But how are you going to be able to do that if you've been in the US for 14 years, but yet still cannot read at an 8th grade level? That does not make sense. So we need to, for me, what I would tell policymakers is invest in those kids, invest in local communities, because yes, these children are interacting with people in their communities, so invest in those communities. For me, I know what made a difference for me was not that I was hardworking and the most intelligent refugee child. No, it's the people, the selfless individuals who invested in me and gave me and showed me. There's a family that used to come and drive my siblings and out to the library on Saturdays, help us do our projects in school. There's a lady who paid for us to be tutored in English, and that's what made the difference. Not that I was hardworking and super bright, that the investment from the people. So what I would tell them is to invest in us, invest in our local communities, invest in those, in people who are helping us achieve our dreams and grow, yeah.
And I'm just curious to know, just to connect with that. So what do you think, and this is for all of you, what do you think people here can do to support you or to support other children or young people on the move?
I can go.
Yeah.
I would say humanize us. We are more than statistics. Whether we were born in the next door country or across the oceans, we did not choose where we were born, and we were not there when these borders were drawn. We all bleed the same, and we are all from the human race. So humanize us. Think of us as your fellow citizen, despite whether we have an alien number or not, and welcome us. But also, do not let this conversation be a one-time thing. Use this as a great example of what it means to bring children on the move to the table, where you are making policies or you're creating a project for your NGO and you want to carry it out. Nobody can do it better than us who lived it. And at least for me, when I want to make a difference for the lives of the children who did not make it or are still in refugee camps, I hope to work on protecting a little bit of their childhood. I did not get to be a child. I'm 22, and now there are moments in my life where I am trying to bring back that child again. Some days I laugh a little bit louder, and I think that will spark moments that I didn't have as a child. So let us be at the table. We bring great expertise. Our life experiences are our expertise, but also so many of us have great background in education, and we can help you help us.
To add to that, what you can do, sometimes for me, really, it baffles me when I see people who work, with NGOs or in spaces where, this immigration and refugee issue are brought up, and these people seem to be really to care deeply about these issues, but yet you go into their personal life and you look at the things that they invest in, you look at the conversations that they're having in their personal circles with their friends, you look at the things that they're saying to their children, and it's completely the opposite of the work that they are doing. So for me, what I would encourage you is that it's beyond just going to work and working on these issues or maybe reading about it in the news, but also in your circle with your friends. Maybe if you have kids, you have to start those conversations there and just as she said, humanize us. We're humans. We're kids. We're kids as me coming as a teenager. I was experiencing everything that your average teenager experiences. So have conversations that humanizes us and that just treat us just like you would like to be treated, and viewed as the way you would like to be viewed as a fellow human being.
Jimmy, what about you? What would you tell both policymakers and people here?
To the people over here, I would like to ask you to have more empathy and put yourself in our shoes. As they mentioned, sometimes we had to leave our childhood behind to become an adult in a young age. Sometimes, I'm sorry, there are young people working and studying, and sometimes you don't know the really true story behind them. Sometimes you can see a young person, a Latino, it could be from other cultures, smiling, laughing really hard at the age of 20 or the age of 21, but you really don't know what is happening behind that really happy person. And I would encourage to put yourself in our shoes, learn more about our culture and about what people go through while coming to United States. And I would also encourage to think about, what if this is my son? What if this is my daughter? Will they survive in this way? Will they be able to go this far? Because sometimes we have problems in our house. Sometimes we have more than one responsibility, having a job, keep college classes or high school classes, and then we have responsibility, as they mentioned, to take care of our sister, little brothers, or do other things at our house. And one thing that I will encourage policymakers is to make education more affordable for everyone. And other thing is to provide more access to healthcare for undocumented and from other people who are not able to get healthcare. Doing our research back in 2020, I learned a lot that the Latino community was really affected by COVID, because they didn't have any healthcare, and they were really, really afraid to go to the hospital. They were really, afraid of the bill. What if I call the ambulance? How much is it going to be the bill? How much is it going to be just to see a doctor for this day? And that was the reason why many people in my community died, because they were really, really afraid to go to the hospital without health insurance, because they were afraid to be, blocked from accessing the hospital.
Awesome. I mean, I think there's so many concrete things that you have all put forward today for policymakers and for all of us to think about and contemplate. In Cox's Bazar, Mazeda and Estefa, you brought up the challenges, your desire to go back home, to have opportunities to learn, to have opportunities to play, to have free place, to have basic services. And then you guys brought up really important issues of, Sasha, you brought up, well, I didn't even know what to do day to day. I needed support when I first arrived. And same with Isaiah, to provide opportunities for you to learn and also to survive beyond just the basic initial aspect of coming to this country, but a longer term support. And then you guys really brought up really critical, important things that education, of course, is really critical for all young people, but also to humanize you and to have empathy and to remember that all of you here, all of us here, are the same. We have so many similarities. We may come from different worlds. We may initially speak different languages, but we have so many similarities, and that gives us power. And then, Jimmy, you brought up the really critical issue of healthcare, and particularly for undocumented young people and families who don't, have access to healthcare, especially when we had a health crisis. And, all of you also brought up the importance of not just having initial short-term support, but having longer-term support and wraparound support. So support not only to you as individuals, but those around you who are going to support you, so your community. So thank you so much for bringing up these really, really important points. And so now we're going to turn it over to all of you to ask our experts here any questions that you have. So I'm going to open it up for you. Who would like to go first? Yeah?
Hello, thank you very much.
Do you want to get a microphone?
Okay, my voice is super loud anyway.
Stand up and speak loudly.
Okay, so my voice is extremely loud with the microphone. So
No
thank you
problem.
very much for telling us about your stories, how you arrived in the country and everything that you had to go through. I think I speak on behalf of everyone. We appreciate you being so open and so generous with your knowledge and with your experiences. And my question is, what motivated you to be here today and to share your stories? Why are you here? Why did you decide to come here? Thank you.
Yeah, and we can start with any of you on these questions. So, Jimmy.
The reason why I decided to do this is because I feel and I know that there are young people who do not have I would say they're scared to speak up. And me being here, I'm being the voice for the voiceless and being able to represent not only myself, not only my story, but other people who have gone through the same thing as me.
Great. Anyone else would like to jump in? Isaiah?
Pues mi razón por la que vine aquí esta mañana fue una razón simple, pero a la vez una razón muy fuerte.
Well, my reason for being here today is very simple but also deep.
Al igual que estoy yo aquí hablando y estamos todos nosotros, somos la voz de muchas personas y de muchas generaciones que en su momento no pudieron decir nada al respecto.
So when I'm here speaking and we're here speaking using our voice, we can be the voice for other people and other generations who weren't able to.
Y ahora que tenemos la oportunidad de poder expresar lo que pensamos, cómo nos sentimos y de tal vez poder crear un cambio y obtener más ayudas, es el momento para poder empezar a crear lo que nosotros nos merecemos, un futuro mejor.
And so by using our voice and being here today, we can start to do to advocate for the things that we want to change and for a better future.
Anyone else like to add? Zara?
I'm here on behalf of every Afghan girl in Afghanistan, every Afghan girl who was evacuated 2 years ago and never made it to a new country and still waiting. I'm here to show you the bravery and the courage that the women of my country have, the Afghan women have, and the wisdom they bring with them if they are given the opportunity. I'm here to remind you that Afghan women should not be forgotten. We are fighting a great war on ground against an oppressive regime that we and our parents lived through once in 2000, and they are living through it again. So I'm here on behalf of my sisters in Afghanistan.
To echo the same sentiments, for me, I'm here on behalf of those who cannot be here. And I consider my story, I consider to have a successful refugee story. And for me, I desire to see other people with my similar background to also have what they consider a successful story. So I want to amplify, I want to multiply this success, and I'm here to share that so you can hear it and help us be able to invest and help more girls like me end up with a successful refugee story, because many do not. And we can change that. We have the power and the resources to change that.
Sasha, do you want to add to that?
I want to add on a little bit. I feel like those are really great points. And at first when I got an email like, oh, do you want to do this thing? I was like, but what do I have to say? Because to me, my experience has become so normal, especially talking to my friends from Ukraine who are now in different countries around the world. We're like, oh yeah, how long did that document take you? Oh yeah, and how was that? Oh, and how did you get your food benefits? Oh, and how's your housing situation? It became such a normal thing that to me was like, oh, what is there to say? But as I thought about it, a lot of people, again, in policymaking and other areas, So they don't have that experience, and for them to hear from us, to learn from us, to be able to then produce better procedures, it's an important thing to do to improve the process for those who will unfortunately come after us.
And what about Mazeda and Istefa? You're in Bangladesh, in Cox's Bazar, and why did you come? Why did you want to participate?
আমার আশা ছিল যে আপনি আমার ইয়া ছিল যে আশা ছিল যে আমার মনের কথাগুলা কারোর সাথে শেয়ার করতে, তাই আমি এখানে আমার মনের কথাগুলো শেয়ার করছি। আর আমি অনেক এক্সাইটেড ছিলাম ওদের সাথে কথা বলতে।
What she said that she wanted to share the children's stories like her, and she wanted to share her own story to everybody. Istafa?
আর আমার মনে নেশা ছিল যে
Okay, interestingly, Istafa and Majida both are telling me that their dream was to meet friends over the seas in the US, and they wanted to meet different people in different time zone.
Oh, wonderful. Well, definitely now you have some new friends, and after this panel, we can make sure that all of you young people are connected with each other as well. Yeah. So any other questions for our panel? Yes, please.
Hi, thank you. Can you all hear me okay? Thank
Not
you so
very
much.
well.
Oh, do I have to turn this on? Or just, is this better?
That's better.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you all for sharing your experiences and your ideas for how we can help improve the services that we can offer to refugee children and displaced children in general. My question is, some of you have mentioned some of the support that you received when you came to this country initially and perhaps ongoing. My question is, what specifically would you change or add to the services that you received? I think, Sasha, you mentioned like sponsorship services, and others have mentioned organizations, local organizations that link them to tutoring or other services like that. So I guess what specifically would you change or add to those kinds of services to help children in similar positions as yourself settle in this country more comfortably? Thank you.
Who would like to start that? I can go. Yeah, Zara.
When we arrived in the States, we were resettled in Virginia, and the way the process worked is very similar to every refugee. We became a refugee to Pakistan from Afghanistan. The UN processed our case. We had a refugee card, and then from there, after 2 years, fortunately, that's very fast for a refugee family, we got to States. And we came here with debt. The money that the government paid for us to come from Pakistan to United States, that airplane ticket, we had to pay that back over the course of 5 years. So, and we did not get much of assistance from the government. It was a 3 months kind of assistance where partial rent, there was barely any assistance in finding jobs for my parents. So while they were navigating a new community, having their children be enrolled in schools, trying to learn a new language, they were also worrying about their debt. They were also worrying about not having a job and not having food at the table. That is number one. That's very important to understand, and maybe create some sort of fund where you help those individuals and kind of maybe create an initiative so they don't have to pay back for an airplane ticket to get here. And also when we do a lot of orientations when we come here. It's not that so many people. It's not that we were just put into a community and said, oh, you'll be fine from now on. Orientation in terms of what identity means and what it means to immerse yourself in an American society. Maybe when we are giving that orientation, we should take a step back and say, you don't need to have blonde hair and whitewash yourself in order to be accepted here. When my sister started elementary school at the age of 6 here, she would come home cry because she wanted to dye her hair blonde. She thought that if she just was gonna look like any other child in our neighborhood, she wouldn't get bullied. My sister, who's here today, she took off her hijab in middle school because she was bullied. She got yelled at by teachers. They were not paying attention to her in any way possible to meet her needs, give her a locker. And we had to ask our friends and our mentors who were white, who looked like the teachers, to step up and advocate for us because our voice was not being heard despite how loud we screamed. So start from those, maybe it seemed little or maybe challenging to some. Start from there and you'll make a huge difference. So maybe next time when you're sitting at a table with another refugee kid, they have a better story to tell you, a happier one.
Thank you.
And also that I think ask us, I think often people assume they know what a refugee person or an immigrant person needs. Yes, you might have 20 years of experience working and helping refugee, but every refugee story is different. Every child on the move story is different. Their needs, their desire, they're different. Do not assume you know what they need. And every human being, a child, even from an infant, when, they cry when they need to be fed, and as we grow, as we grow and able to speak, able to engage, we can tell you what we need. So ask us, and when we are speaking, understand and respect. If you are, especially for those who really are helping and working, with people on the move, seriously listen to what they're telling you. And if they're not saying anything, maybe you've created an environment that is not conducive for you to tell them what they need. Find a way to make it safe and to make it comfortable for them to communicate with you what their needs are. And because for me, as she was saying, we have to, there are people, all good, meaning people, but you're like constantly fighting. It's like, no, I don't want that. I said I want, that's not what I want. Why didn't you just ask me? Why did you buy me this gift? I understand you really wanted to buy me a gift, but for a long time growing up, I didn't wear jewelry. It's like, why did you just assume that I want to wear jewelry because every other girl in the U.S. is wearing that? So just things like that. It's very simple, like ask. Yeah.
Anyone else want to add?
One of the little things that, from experience, try to make policies more consistent throughout the U.S. because we've had experience where we were in our town and we had to go file for SNAP's intent support when we first arrived, and they go back to us relatively quickly, whereas people who came in the same program and have technically the same rights as we do was in here, and they're living only 40 minutes away from where we lived, they had a big trouble getting that support, and they were, after filing the papers, and after they filed these papers, they waited for, I believe it was more than half of a year just to get the same support, even though we came on with the same rights, same program, same country, same state, but just different, like 40 minutes away. Travel difference.
Interesting. Maybe we can ask the audience if you have any more questions. Maybe one more. Right here.
Thank you for sharing your stories. And just the question I have is trying to put myself and my family in places where we can encounter more diversity and encounter people coming from everywhere. But I also want to ensure that we're always treating people with dignity as you've talked about, challenges of wanting to fit or wanting to, it's not feeling pitied or trying to, how do we best access people to help them if we have that desire to help, but don't want to walk through, a school hallway and be like, are you a refugee? Are you in need? How do we treat people with dignity, access them? Is it only going through organizations and programs to find out where people are specifically? Is there a way to make ourselves a safe person, safe family, a family that's available to help, but don't know how to reach people necessarily?
I can start.
Yeah.
I would say, yes, organizations like the RSC, it's a great place to start, especially in terms, and you don't have to stick to just, doing the programs that these organizations have, but also just once if you could start with them where they give you maybe a list of where the apartment complexes or the cities in which refugees are hosted, because for the most part, refugees in states, they're usually put in the same, relatively very same apartment units for years and years. And you could just literally just walk into apartments. For me, some of the people that I've met who, today became my best friends, there were people who just walked in the, apartment complex, they came so that we were playing outside and they introduced themselves to us and said, yo, can we play with you, As a child, of course, no child would say, no to somebody who's very friendly and say want to, play with you. And then from there, you get to know them little by little. Playing, it's like, oh, where's your mom? Where's this? The next thing, these people were in our home and we're sharing dinner with them. And the next thing, we were at their house. And from there, at this point, we're essentially, family. So that, know which apartment complex they're host and just really walk to those apartments and talk to them and get to know them and, create friendships.
And you ask a real question. The question of dignity and agency is a very important question that so many people forget to reflect on, and I thank you for that. When we first got here, a lot of people came forward to donate stuff or to make our home, and there were some certain things that we just couldn't use when, for example, spoons. When we would eat our food, we would taste a little bit of the iron from the spoon because it was so overused, and the person that donated it just didn't need it anymore and was like, we can just give this to a refugee. They will be happy to have anything at this point. And these are refugee families who were change makers within their own community back home. My mom worked for the UN and would do internal displacement resettlement within Afghanistan. So we are, again, going back to what Bertha said, we are not just hopeless and helpless individuals coming to this country. We come with experiences, and we had a life back home as well. So that question of dignity is very important. Please do hold on to that. And then the good thing about the organization, going through organizations, is they have great programs that can prepare you for those. And then at times, there's also the question of bureaucracy. It can be very difficult to have that one-on-one and humanizing conversation with refugees where you can be friends with them. You can always talk to counselors in schools. If they definitely have refugee and immigrant children that they would need your support in applying for educational opportunities or in ESL courses. And you can volunteer your time. Your time and having conversations with refugees is the most important part. And just having that conversation, providing them with resources. I can name every single person that has helped me in the States since 2015. Every single person. My high school counselor took me to UVA to have a college tour when I got accepted. And I'm still in touch with her 5 years later. And I value that. I hold that to my heart. And so many of those children would do the same because they know what it means that for many of us, for the first time, be seen as a human and just more than statistics. I hope that's helpful, but we can definitely have a conversation afterward as well.
Great. So let's take one more question. Lunch has arrived, but let's take one more question if there is. Yes.
Given that a lot of issues that drive people to become refugees are so large scale and systemic, how do you stay optimistic when fighting for change or just not feel jaded at the world?
Who would like to take that one? Anyone? Okay.
Zara touched on this. I think with given what we have gone through, at an early age, you develop this, like our emotional intelligence, it become because of the years of experiences and just going through hardships and things like that. There's just you have to find something higher than yourself to connect with, I think. And for me, it was God. My faith, deepening my faith, and being here in the U.S., with all the struggles of being a teenager in this country, who look very different, and being in spaces that was not comfortable with others who were different. You can feel, it's very easy to feel really hopeless. And then also coming home and not having that present, parents not being present. It makes things very difficult. But I think for me, knowing that with my identity, I anchored my identity in something that was higher, that was not in this world. And with that, I came to understand, regardless of my status, regardless of what they're saying, regardless of what the rhetoric in this country is, I am a human being. I am valuable. I'm smart. I'm intelligent, and I was created for a purpose. And this purpose, yes, I wish my life was easier like theirs. I wished my life, I didn't have to go through this. I didn't have to be able to find my voice and stand up for myself. I wish all of these things were just given to me, but they weren't. And my purpose is to be here to help others understand that, look, to just help people have sympathy, because it's so easy, when you grow up with everything being given to you, with so much privilege, you do not understand what it takes. There's a part of your emotions that you don't engage. But for people like us, we were given, for me, I've come to understand, it's my purpose to help people understand, for those without compassion, to have compassion and, compassion, kindness, all of that. And, for people like us who are given that privilege to be able to help those without it to get it.
Yeah. Let me turn to this side. Would either of you, Isaiah or Sasha, like to answer that question?
Pues creo que para todos en algún momento de nuestras vidas tenemos esos momentos donde sentimos que tenemos el mundo en nuestras manos.
I think all of us have those moments in our lives where we feel like we have the world in our hands.
Pero tenemos también esos momentos donde sentimos que todo el mundo está encima de nosotros y simplemente no queremos seguir adelante.
And we all have those moments where we feel like the whole world is on top of us and we just don't want to go forward.
Pero siempre debemos de recordar la razón por la cual día a día estamos luchando.
But we have to remember the reason that we're fighting every day.
Encontrar ese motivo al cual aferrarnos y decir, si logré muchas cosas antes que creí que eran imposibles y que no iba a superar, en este momento puedo hacer cosas más grandes todavía.
And remember that there were all these things in the past that we overcame and that we achieved, and so there will be even bigger things that we can achieve in the future.
Porque la vida realmente no es fácil, pero nadie nos dijo que lo fuera.
Because life really isn't easy, but no one told us it would be.
Así que lo único que nos queda hacer es día a día seguir adelante con la frente en alto y recordar el por qué estamos luchando.
And so the only thing we can do day to day is just remember the only thing we can do every day is remember why we're fighting and keep going.
It's a really wonderful, wonderful message from all of you. And I want to, as we, wrap up this panel, I want to thank each of you for your bravery, for coming out here, for being vulnerable, for sharing your stories with us. I know when I was your age, I would have been so scared. I would not have been able to sit here and, express myself in the way that you all have. So thank you for your bravery. Thank you for your insights, your stories, and your expertise. And I hope today that the audience and those that in the future, I hope that, watch this recording can remember the lessons that you've given us, the things that you've shared. And as they move forward, whether in their daily lives or if they're, supporting policies, can remember your words. And I hope we have more opportunities to bring you and other young people on the move to the table, because the views that you've brought are not things that our perspectives are different, our experiences are different. So I really hope that we can have more opportunities to bring you all. And I'm glad that we now have this group. And as Estefa was saying, she wants friends to connect with. And we're so excited to be able to connect you all to each other so you can remain in contact. And so in closing, I'd like to ask Zara to share a poem that she has written for our panel. Zara?
Sipping my water, getting ready, as poets would do. Today was a great example of how refugees and children of refugees are not voiceless, but rather we just have to create the opportunity and listen a little bit closer to our stories, and just give us the opportunity and the space for it. Today's poem, called Grandma Doesn't Need to Know, I started writing poetry at a very young age when I was in Afghanistan. And my mom was a poet as well, but because of the war, she never was able to invest time in sharpening that skill. And I, throughout crossing borders and becoming a refugee, I kept that part of myself because my mom wanted to invest in that. And my family really admired that way of me sharing my feelings and my experiences. I wrote this poem actually on campus. I wrote it for those of you who go to Georgetown. I wrote this in Alumni Square. I was living there my sophomore year of college during the pandemic. And I wrote it right after I had a conversation with my grandma. And I realized things are not the same anymore. I left my grandma in 2013. I have not seen her since. She's in Afghanistan, and the reunification process can be very, very exhausting. So I pray that I see her one day. Every day that we talk, instead of saying goodbye, she says, "I will see you very soon." That "I will see you very soon" has been about a decade now, and we hope that very soon comes very soon. It's called Grandma Doesn't Need to Know. Grandma called last night. "Bachim, tell me more." In her eyes, I'm the 12-year-old grandchild whose picture is still hanging on her bedroom wall. The mathematic genius that aced every equation and canceled every negative with a positive. I'm the American dream she never lived. Nure Chashmom, why aren't you calling me anymore? Grandma is too busy imagining how I look 7 years later. She does not notice my R's are no longer rolling. Last month, a thin accent in my mother tongue appeared. Grandma woke up at 4 a.m. to call me. Her puffy eyes do not allow her to see the wall my accent is slowly building between us. Last year, my teacher said that my English accent proves her point. I'm not worthy of a good grade if I cannot speak my fourth language properly. Ever since, I spit out a part of my mother tongue with a little bit of toothpaste in the morning. But Grandma doesn't need to know. Grandma asks if I remember that one time when she made me cholet. I lie. The truth is that my childhood memories were lost somewhere between the Pacific and the Atlantic. The night I left her, I packed the taste of her traditional cooking, the smell of her za'afarani chai, the colors of her handmade Afghani dresses, and the comfort of her sweet love. Grandma doesn't need to know they were lost when the airport security opened my suitcase in search of terrorism. I wish Grandma knew that the American dream was not meant for me, her immigrant, Muslim, hijabi grandchild. Grandma doesn't need to know my tongue has tasted aether too many times it can no longer remember the taste of my sweet motherland. Grandma doesn't need to know I no longer recognize myself. I'm too American to wear colorful dresses and too foreign not to wear the hijab. She named me after herself. I'm her Zahra Jan. Her voice echoed as I watched a part of my name last week. She doesn't need to know it's just Zara now. Grandma doesn't need to know she still speaks to the 12-year-old grandchild of hers that the trauma of war, refuge, and Islamophobia killed years ago. Grandma doesn't need to know.
Thank you all so much. We're so glad you're here. Thank you so much. Thank you all. What a beautiful crowd. What a beautiful day. What a beautiful lineup of young people. Thank you so much. We have lunch. We have an hour. We're on time. This is amazing. One of the goals of the collaborative, not just today, but in everything we do, is to build community. So please take lunch to welcome each other, to get to know each other. It's so amazing to see you in person. I feel like I've met so many of you online. What a bunch of heroes in the room. And I hope you two can also connect with one another some more informally and enjoy each other's company. So let's have lunch, and then we'll convene back at 1.